Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Friday, the 14th of February. And today in this educational video, we have, which is no recommendation, there's no advice whatsoever. We are going to start with S&P 500 today. Very strong stock markets. In general, we have S&P 500 breaking its upper falling trend line, likely to make a new high above previous all-time highs here at 6,128. We could see that in coming days, very close to pre-market also. If RSI gets back above 60 threshold, well, then it will further confirm the bullish trend. The excuse me, Nasdaq 100 closed back about 22,000 yesterday, and I think we will also see a new all-time highs there fairly shortly, maybe before the weekend or early next week. That was a strong statement yesterday, gapping a little bit higher. Dow Jones, still this top of reversal pattern. I think it will be cancelled also, but let's see here in a couple of days, today and early next week. Still also, it was a strong statement yesterday. So for now, it looks like we will have a new high there also. European markets, I said yesterday, despite there was a little bit of divergence on the RSI, trust the trend, and for now it has actually cancelled the divergence, so no imbalance, pushing higher. A really strong move, closed at 5,500 yesterday, set to possibly move a little bit higher this morning here. So very strong trend indeed. And I have no target at the moment. Can it push to 5,600? Let's see about that, but very strong indeed. DAX also very strong, gapping higher. So I wouldn't even look at this support there. I would say if it closes the gap down to 22,148, that could be a bit of a worry if that occurs. But for now, we have this nice gap here, and the divergence has been cancelled, and we are likely to see higher DAX levels in the coming week. In late session yesterday, euro dollar broke above the resistance at 104.50 area, closed above it, and we didn't get the RSI to close back above 60 threshold, which was kind of weird, but we didn't do that. But it seems like we have established maybe a little bit of an uptrend here. Next could be the peak here at 105.34, and maybe even 106.30. That could be next. But here the 100 moving average is coming down, adding to the pressure from the upper side. So could be a little bit of a struggle though. The sterling dollar also pushing a little bit higher. Can it get back above 126? Just below at the moment, 126. If it can, then it still have the 100 moving average and the 200 up here, just below 128. That can be a little bit of a struggle. However, we have the RSI. No, it didn't. It just looked like it. It did not close above the 60 threshold. So we are still in a negative sentiment. So a little bit indecisive here. Still not a clear signal. Euro sterling still this range bound between 83 or in the 83 and a half area. So not something to really no clear direction, to be honest. Dollar yen that got rejected at the 55 moving average, and the 50% of this downtrend here got rejected yesterday, trading around the 200. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, and if it slides a little bit lower and RSI moves back below 40 threshold, I think the downside pressure could increase, and we could take out 150.80 level with a potential down to 148.60 area. If it takes out the peak there on the 12th of February at 154.80, then we could see a push up to around 156. Euro yen also got rejected at the 55 moving average and just around the 61.8 retracement. it needs to take out the peak from yesterday for a push higher above the cloud at 162.25. Otherwise, it will slide lower. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, indicating the latter. The Aussie yen also got rejected at the 55 moving average and the 61.8 retracement here. It needs to take out the peak here from the 12th of February at 97.34 for a push higher to 97 and maybe even 98.75 area. If it slides back below 95.90, well, then a downtrend is likely to resume. And finally, sterling yen, well, dancing around the 192 level here, got up to the 61.8 retracement, no, 786 retracement at 193.15. So what will it do here? Still negative sentiment on the RSI, indicating it will slide back eventually. But if it can take out that peak here on from yesterday, well, then we could see a push higher to test this area here around 154, 155. Aussie dollar testing resistance at 63.35 here. I added a few pips, I always do that. So testing that at the moment. RSI, as we speak, above the 60 threshold. Did it close above? Yes or no, it didn't. So what will it do today? Will it actually close above the 63.35 and the 60 threshold? If it does, well, then there's potential higher to 64.20, maybe even higher. If it's being rejected and slides back below the cloud and back below the 55 moving average, the bearish trend will resume. Dollar Canada broke its support yesterday with a bang, 142.60 area here, and I think we could see a test of the 100 moving average that comes up here and the 141.20 support and the also the lower part of the cloud. But we are in a negative sentiment, and this one is cancelled. So we are negative sentiment, indicating we have turned around and could slide lower. If it moves back below 141, well, then we're looking at 140, maybe even down to 139. Sterling Canada, well, bounced to the 38.2 retracement just below the cloud here, and it really needs to get back above this area to establish further upside potential or further bouncing potential, to be honest. But if it does, well, then it could push to the 180. If it fails, well, then we will slide lower, and we are below the cloud here. But there's positive sentiment on the RSI, so a little bit of blurry picture at the moment on this very, very volatile cross. Euro-Swiss, well, I think it will push higher eventually. Extremely volatile yesterday, but it needs to take out 95.20. If it does, well, then we're looking towards level at 95.80, 96, maybe even. No divergence on the positive sentiment on the RSI is indicating that we could push higher, but the 200 moving average really giving it a hard time here. So it is a bit of a struggle. Dollar Swiss, testing the lower rising trend line there and the 55 moving average. Can it push through that and down to around the 89.15, 89 support area, where we have the 100 moving average coming up just below there? Or will it bounce again and push higher? That will be the key here going into next week. The dollar index, also a little bit of a blurry picture, but it broke below the rising trend line there yesterday. It took out the little minor support there at 107.15. We could see a test of 106.42, and that would be key here. We have the 100 moving average coming up, giving some support. So it is an RSI for now is below the 40 threshold. Will it close below? Well, then that will add to the bearish picture. It needs to get back above 108.42 for upside potential and getting back above the cloud. Gold is trying to push higher towards 29.50 and 3,000. A little bit creeping up divergence maybe, but it's not. There's still potential higher on gold for sure. Will it get to 3,000? That is of course debatable, at least at this point. So I keep my stop here, 28.64 for a correction. But if it takes out the spike up there from the 11th, at 29.43. Well, then I think we will see it is looking at 3,000 at least if it get there. Let's see. Silver here in the early session this morning pushed higher above 33, likely to push higher towards 33.5, 34 even, and possibly higher if it can stay above the 32, 35. And copper also really pushing higher, 480 now. And if we're looking at the weekly, which I've been showing to you for so long, currently it is above 479, which was the spike up there in September. A close above, well, it actually paves the way or the road higher towards previous peak here at 520 area. Now it's eyeing 500. So really strong move in copper at the moment, and that doesn't bode well for inflation going forward. Crude oil, and here we have WTI spiked a little bit lower, just below these lows here. Touched the almost the $70 and then bounced. So we are still above the cloud, hovering around this 100 moving average here. Slightly negative sentiment, and we have the 200 declining here. So I think we could see it push lower in the coming weeks. And we can also see here after it got rejected up here at the strong resistance levels that we could slide lower. It doesn't. We have negative sentiment here also on the weekly, so it could potentially be that we will see that lower levels there. Brent crude oil spiked just a tad lower also yesterday and then bounced, but now it seems like it's dancing sideways out of the cloud area. Really needs to get back above 77.35 to have a chance of establishing a bullish trend. If it takes out the lows from yesterday at 74.06, then I think we'll see it sliding lower to the 72 area. Also massive correction in Dutch TTF gas. We talked about yesterday. There was a risk that it will do that, but it was actually much more fierce than expected, but really sell off there. And now we are dancing around the 61.8 retracement here this early morning at 49.35. Will it hold, or will it slide lower for consumers and industries in Europe? It will be a good thing if we can get the gas prices lower, maybe even down to the 786 retracement. Massive correction after making a push almost to the 60 threshold and above the peak there back in Q4 2023. This is a massive bearish engulfing if it continues lower, especially also if it's taking it out the previous week here. That would be quite a bearish signal to send. Henry Hub gas, US nat gas, on the other hand, has bounced strongly and almost up to the 61.8 retracement at 381. If it can close above the cloud and RSI can get back above 60 threshold, well, then there could be further upside potential. Otherwise, it could slide lower towards 350. If it takes out 350, then it will slide lower. US 10-year Treasury yield that got rejected there at the 61.8 retracement and resistance at 465 got knocked down, back down there. RSI didn't close above 60 threshold, so that was actually quite interesting. And now we seem to be locked in between the 55 down to the 55 moving average and support at 450. Will it move back below 40.50? That would be the key question here to watch out for. I will remove this. So we have this at 465 and 450. It could be tested. About 465, it needs to close above for establishing a bullish trend. We are above the cloud, but still not positive sentiment. So maybe let's see here the next few days or going into next week. The 2-year above 430, so actually established the bullish trend or re-established the bullish trend, and RSI also back above 60 threshold, indicating a likely higher levels. On the European, let's see, where do we have it? On the European yields, also got knocked down yesterday. Good for us consumers. We didn't get all the way up to 250 on the EU. We were just below at 249. So, but we're still in this bouncing phase, so we could crawl higher. If it takes out the 249, then I think we'll see a push towards 255. In UK, also knocked down just below 458. Key support here down at 438. On the cryptos, Bitcoin still on the side, just basically trading sideways just below the 55 moving average. Is it forming a symmetrical triangle or not? That's the key question. Let's see here the next week or so. Ethereum trying to establish at least some solid ground here around 2600 and 20 up to 28. Can it get back about 2800? Well, maybe we could be looking at 3000. All right, that's all for now and this week. Have a nice weekend when you get to there, and talk to you again next week.